Hello and welcome to my channel, In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne and this is my weekly reading vlog. If you are watching this on Sunday morning when I am setting this to go live, if you don't mind taking a moment to pray real quick for us, because as I am filming this on Saturday night, my oldest son has been fighting a little bit of a bug, probably the flu or something, I don't know, for a couple of days. And then today he has developed a low-grade fever. And I am a little bit traumatized by the last time he had a fever a couple years ago because it got so high. It got up to 105 and it scared me to pieces. So I'm a little bit nervous and anxious about him. So if you could say a prayer about that. And also today we are supposed to go on a vacation to New York City that we have been planning for months and are very excited about. And I really would love to be able to go, but even more so, I would love for everybody to be able to be healthy and enjoy the trip. I know that there are much, much bigger things going on in the world right now. This is just a very, very tiny little thing and request, but so if you have a moment and you don't mind, if you say a prayer for us, that would be amazing. And also, while I'm on the subject of prayer, I don't know if you have heard about the missionary Josh Sullivan in South Africa, who was kidnapped. I don't know what the news will be when this goes live tomorrow, but as of tonight, Saturday, he was kidnapped and he has not been released. I'm not sure. I think that negotiations have been started. I'm not sure. I'm hearing mixed reports. Some people are saying there was a ransom. Some people were saying they don't know, that they're just following clues and trying to find him. I don't know, but just pray. We do know that he was kidnapped by 4 armed men who knew his name and knew his wife's name. They took him while he was preaching at a church service. And can I tell you, I know this family personally. They came to our church last fall, and our whole family was just captivated by them, and their kids really loved my older son, and just developed a really special relationship with him. And we just developed, you know, a bit of a relationship with them. I mean, we're not like bosom buddies or anything, but we were so much in admiration of their heart for people and their testimony and just their lives and the stories they would tell about their life in South Africa. And they live in a really rough area by choice, and they minister to very needy people. And so I'm just really impressed by their ministry in South Africa and their love for people. And I am just really praying for his deliverance. Also, please pray for him. But now let's go on to the rest of my reading vlog. I started a week ago Saturday with my trip to a library book sale, which it's kind of hard to tell from the videos. It was advertised to me as being quite large. It's larger than it looks in the video, and it was extremely popular, especially given its location, which is it's not very central at all, but so many people were there. It was packed, and there were a lot of books. When I first stepped into the room and I was filming the room, like, you don't get a sense of how many books were there. It was actually a really big library sale, not the biggest I've been to for sure, but one of the bigger ones. Anyway, so I start with that, and then just my updates as I've read throughout the week. So thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for your prayers, and I will see you next time. Hello, it is Saturday morning, and I am going to get this weekly reading vlog started. I am about to go to a library sale. It's supposed to be a big one. I don't know. The thing is, it's almost an hour away from me, and I would not normally go that far for a library sale. But 1, it's supposed to be really big, so I've heard. I'm going to be really disappointed if it's not. But 2, there was a ladies' event at my church scheduled for today where they were going to a flea market, which is like 10 minutes away from where the library sale is. And then after that, they're going to go to Cracker Barrel for lunch and then possibly do some more shopping in the downtown area. Anyway, so if I went on the ladies event for the whole shebang, I would be driving out an hour anyway, because it makes more sense for me to drive out and meet them there from where I live than from where they're going to be coming from anyway. Details. You don't need all those details. The point being, I would probably be driving an hour anyway this morning regardless. And the fact that this supposedly huge library book sale is 10 minutes away from that flea market where they're all going to be, and I can potentially meet up with them there, either there or at the Cracker Barrel, you know, it was no-brainers. So I am fortifying myself for the drive, which I hate driving. So you probably don't know this about me, but I really hate driving, but I have to drive an hour today. So I am fortifying myself with some homemade latte, and I'm going to be listening to getting all caught up on booktube videos as I drive. So that will keep me company. And of course, when I get there, I will show you what I find. So let's go. Okay, so I made it an hour drive, and it is a beautiful drive, actually. I love driving through this part of Virginia. It's so gorgeous. It's a little bit like hilly / mountainous. So there are parts where you're like, your car is going up the hill and then way down the hill. I don't really like either part, but it is beautiful views. The pear trees are blooming, the redbud trees are blooming, and you can see mountains in the distance. It's really a lovely drive. So I enjoyed that visually, that experience. I also just want to mention, because I mentioned like catching up on my booktube, I just want to clarify for anybody who's worried about me that I listen to the YouTube videos when I'm driving. I don't watch them. So just so you're not worried about me and my safety and my ability to follow traffic laws. Anyway, so here I am at the library sale. We'll see how it goes. The library is pretty big. And it's funny because like you're driving past neighborhoods, then there's this huge library in this big open space. So it's very interesting. I've never been to this library, but we will see how it goes and what I find, and I will take you along with me. Okay, so that was fun. Definitely a lot of books, huge fiction section. Not a lot of classics, which I do like to look for classics at library book sales, like really good editions, which is hit or miss. Like sometimes you find them, sometimes you don't. They didn't have a separate classic section that I could find, and it was all intermingled in the fiction, and there wasn't a lot. So, and there was nothing that I found that was like, oh, this is amazing, but paperbacks were $1, hardbacks were $2, and then they had some nicer books that were priced separately, like older books and whatever. So I definitely bought more books than I actually have room for at my house. So yeah, that's gonna have to be figured out. So let me just show you real quick what I got, and I'll just pull them out of my bag here from the top. No particular order. First thing is the Aeneid of Virgil. I don't want to read it, but I want to at the same time. Like, I feel like it's a good thing for me to read. So, you know, I got it. And it's a nice basic paperback copy. Bantam classic. And then I've heard differing things about this one as to whether or not it's good or bad, but this was a really nice copy. This is the Book of Lost Names by Kristen Harmel. Never read this author, never read this book, but the title intrigues me. The synopsis intrigues me, so I picked it up. Let me know if you think I would like it. This one, Carrie Turansky, No Ocean Too Wide. I think I've read one book by her, and I have one on my shelf that I still need to read, a TBR. So I don't usually like to pick up stuff like this, you know, that I don't know for sure if I'm gonna like it or not. But for $1, I was like, and in good condition, I was like, you know, I might as well try it, right? Might as well try it. And then, oh, so many people have raved about this one, LMNOP. So I have never read it, and this is the first time I've seen it available used anywhere. So that looks like a fun one. And then this one, my sister read this and raved about it, and I am really also interested in reading it. We're actually going to go to New York for spring break this year. So I feel like I should read it for that, because it's about JP Morgan's library, which you can go to in New York. But I don't think we have time to actually go to that library on this trip. So maybe I'll save it for another time. And then this one, I've heard mixed things. I think Tammy at Protagonist Pub really did not like this book. And I've only read one other book by this author, but I really liked it. Can't remember the title right now, but it was like a take on part of the story, one of the characters of A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, and it was set during the French Revolutionary War, and it was a really good book. Forget the name of it, but I enjoyed it so much. So I know I like this author. I don't know if I'll like this story or not, but I picked it up. It was $1. And then I think it was Cindy Rollins, who is on the Literary Life podcast. I follow her on Goodreads, and I think she was the one who mentioned this very recently and said that it was a good Lenten read, which, you know, we're almost finished with Lent here, but this is The Great Passion by James Runcie, and it's a novel about Bach, and I think it centers on his work, St. Matthew's Passion. So I'm curious. I don't really know anything about it other than what she said, and then I happened to see it, and it interests me because of the subject matter. So, and then I have not read this yet, if you can believe it. Like, everybody in the world except for me has read it. I've heard the story. I've not seen the movie. I know what it's about. I think it's an amazing story, so I'm interested in reading it, but I haven't yet, and now I have a copy. And then I was just in one of the videos I was listening to on my way here. Somebody was talking about this author, Sharon K. Penman, and I didn't know anything about her, but they were mentioning that she was a really good historical fiction author. I believe this is like in medieval times or Renaissance era. I don't know. Not normally the time period in history that I enjoy, but I just love this cover and the fact that it had just been mentioned and it was only $2. And let's see. Then I got this, The Book of Signs by David Jeremiah, which I believe I have on my Kindle, but this is a really excellent condition hard copy. I've not read it. I don't need to add more to my Christian nonfiction shelf, but here we are. And then finally, in the old books section, the antiques, I picked up this beautiful copy of Lord Tennyson's works. It has like this signature by him and this engraving of him in gold colors, and it was published, this is a reprint from 1894, and it's just all of his works, the works of Tennyson. So I'm very excited. I've always loved his poetry, but I've never, like, it's been a long time since I've read it. First of all, I believe Miriam has been reading Tennyson recently. There are some poems by him that I really want to read. I have read Lady of Shalott recently. Anyway, it's been a long time, but since I've read anything by Tennyson other than the Lady of Shalott, which I read in the past couple of years. But I do want to read more, and I definitely want to consistently read more poetry on a regular basis. So this is going to help with that. And also, it's a beautiful copy from the 1890s. So that is my haul from the library book sale. I'm pretty excited about this. Now I have to go home and do some shelf rearranging. There actually are a couple things I've been meaning to do with my shelves to make more space. One thing is I need to get more of the actual shelf pieces from IKEA. I just haven't yet, because some of them, like the spacing is just too much, and it's not a good use of the space. So I know I can fit more books if I have more actual shelves. So that's step number one. I need to do that. I just haven't yet. So I need to order more shelves. The other thing is downstairs we have possibilities that I can work with there. So there are things I can do. I just haven't yet, but now that I have books I need to put somewhere, that's gonna, make the matter a little more important, urgent. Okay, so off I am going to meet my friends for lunch at Chick-fil-A, and I will see you all next time. Bye. Cracker Barrel. Hello, it is Tuesday afternoon, April 8th, as I'm recording this. And yes, I am wearing a winter sweater and I have my winter coat because apparently we decided to do winter again in Virginia. I don't know. Although, as you can see, also the sun is shining quite brightly and is creating some interesting shadows here. So I apologize for the weird lighting situation going on. Also, my phone has decided that it doesn't want to stay in the place that I put it, so I am holding it, and so this is just great fun. Okay, so I have a few minutes to film a quick update on my reading. I finished a book last night. I wanted to read something quick in the middle of all my long books. Otherwise, I feel like I'm gonna get, in a reading slump. So I just read something that I had started on my Kindle a month or so ago and had set aside because it was fine, it was interesting enough and everything. It wasn't like I DNF'd for any particular reason. I just had other more important things to read at the time, so I set it aside. But I came back to it this weekend just to finish something to read, just to finish something and have a sense of accomplishment, just to read a story quickly. And I'm finding that is a key to balance, because there are a lot of these longer books that I really want to read. And yet, if I'm only reading longer books, there's there's less of a feeling of accomplishment or something. I don't know psychologically what goes on there. But anyway, that's the reality. So we're working with it. And so I needed to read something smaller. And I forget who. I have a terrible memory. I was watching someone's video recently. And if I can find it, I will put their name. If it was you can let me know in the comments, and then I'll add your name to the description box. But I was watching someone's video very recently, like within the past week or so, and I think it was their March recap. And they said that they had read The Widow and the Highlander by Martha Keyes. And that was the one that I had started on my Kindle a couple weeks ago and had not finished. So I was like, when I heard them talk about it and they really enjoyed it, I was like, oh yeah, that'll be a great short one that I've already started. So, and I remember it was, kind of an interesting story. So I would like to see what happens with that. So I'll finish that one. So I finished it. Bottom line up front, I gave it 3 stars. Like, it was great. It was good. It was fine. It was a fun read. It exactly fit the need for what I wanted to. I enjoyed the setting. It was in Scotland, and it was set in the decades following the Jacobite Rebellion. And it was following the next generation, basically dealing with the aftermath of things that happened then. So it was a really interesting story, and it was written well, and the characters were well drawn and everything. So it was good. So if you're looking for like a historical romance set during that time, very clean. I think there was maybe one minor cuss word. There was no like intimacy or anything. There were maybe some kisses. Very clean. Overall. So if you're looking for that, perfect. Fits the bill, fun, pleasant to read. It was like you want to keep reading because you want to find out what's happening. So I do recommend it. However, there were a couple of things that just rubbed me a little bit the wrong way about the way the story was told. And the primary one being that, so our main character, her situation is that her husband is no longer alive, and she has, per the terms of his will, she has inherited his estate. But his family, the Scottish clan, they are anxious to get their hands on her estate and the money that it entails. Sorry, trying to find a little better lighting here if I can. Don't think that's going to happen. Anyway, her husband was a terrible, terrible abusive person. And they don't go into detail. They don't describe any of the instances. It's just, that's what it was like. And, it's hinted at, it's implied, etc. And so she is dealing, with all of the emotional turmoil that goes with that. On top of which, her husband's family has like basically, what's the word? Squatted, I guess, in her estate, and they won't leave, and like she can't figure out how to make them leave. And these are the kind of people who are ruthless, and they won't stop at anything to get what they want, and they want her estate, they want her money. And so she's just in their way, and so she is not sure how to handle the situation. Well, along comes another guy that she meets who ends up being the love interest, and it ends up being halfway through the story, it becomes like a marriage of convenience sort of thing. But the twist here, and I don't think this is spoilery, but if you want to read it and you don't want to be spoiled, then skip ahead. I think this might be on the back, like in the synopsis and everything, so I'm not sure if it's a spoiler, but it might be. So anyway, so this guy who actually is the person that the estate originally belonged to before it was confiscated by the British government during the Jacobite Rebellion because of his father's political leanings and the things that his father had done during that time. And so it had been confiscated and given to the widow, her husband's family, well, to her husband, and then she inherited it from him. So this guy is actually like, you know, from his perspective, he's the rightful owner of the estate and he wants to prove it, but he needs to get his hands on some paperwork that's probably still at the castle. So, but she meets him initially under a different name. He's not there under his own name. He's like, he's assumed a different identity in order to figure out, you know, how to get his estate back. But he's a good guy, and so he sees the danger that she's in, and he wants to help her. And, you know, over the course of time, like, they fall in love, and then there's a marriage of convenience, etc., all this stuff. So the thing that frustrated me is that here is this woman in this dire situation, and she has no way out of it. She keeps saying, she's like, well, I'll have to figure out how to get rid of them. I'll have to figure out how to do this. I have to think about that. I need to sit down and think about that. But there's nothing she can do. Her hands are tied. She's a woman. So unless she goes and gets herself weapons and starts defending herself in that way, there's no way she is going to protect herself and her estate from these guys, because like I said, they're ruthless, and because they feel like, you know, they have a right to it, like they should be like the next in line to inherit instead of her. So they are determined to get this from her, and they don't care what happens to her in the process. She has no way to protect herself from them. The only allies that she has are her sister, who lives with her, who is admittedly quite feisty, and I loved her sister's character, and a maid who works in the village, who is a good friend to her, but isn't able to help her in any sort of tangible way. And no one else is on her side. No one else can come to her aid. You know, you could try to go through the law, but with the whole situation, this being Scotland and the clans and all of that kind of stuff, like, definitely a tricky situation all around. She has no one to help her. So in comes this guy, who is, by the way, an ex-British soldier, and also he is a good guy and a good man, and he sees the danger that she's in, and he desires to help her. And she just keeps insisting all the time to him that she doesn't need him to protect her. Like, she's a strong woman and she doesn't need him. That just irritates the living daylights out of me. And I think that I'm going to have to do like a hot takes video about this on a broader, more general aspect of this and how it affects romance novels, in particular, modern, contemporary written romance novels. It irritates me. What is wrong with needing someone's help? Why do so many authors feel it necessary to project this false value of independent strength, particularly in a woman? In a woman, it's seen as a good thing to be independently strong and not to ever need a man's protection or strength. Now, if you don't, like, if there's something that you can do, then by all means, you don't need to get a man to do it for you. So do it yourself. I am a very strong and independent woman, and my husband will concur. You know, he can even chime in the comments if he wants to. I am a strong, independent woman, as are all of my sisters. Very much so. But I'm sorry, if I'm living in a castle with 6, 7, 8 of my husbands, my no longer living husbands, relatives who are ruthless and powerful and can eliminate me in any way they so choose, and they won't have a moment's qualm in their conscience about it, I am going to enlist the first good man who comes along and offers their aid. I'm going to enlist him. I'm going to say, yes, please help me. Thank you. I appreciate your help, sir. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with it? If you can't, if you need somebody's help, that's okay. And why project this idea that somehow it's not okay to need help sometimes? Why are we perpetrating this false value of womanhood in romance novels? Sometimes a woman needs a man to help her, and that's okay. What's wrong with that? Why would I don't see what's wrong with it. Again, like I said, if you can do it for yourself, do it for yourself. If you're capable of doing something for yourself, do it, and don't ask somebody else to do it for you. Absolutely, 100%. That is good. That is a good value. That is something to honor. But it is also important to honor the humility of recognizing when you need help and being able to accept it graciously, and not constantly make the other person feel like they're just stepping in where they're not needed when they're just trying to be genuinely helpful. So this sort of frustrates me, this kind of attitude in books. And here's the stupid thing. Like, she kept saying that, but she absolutely 100% needed this guy to help her out of the situation, and he did it very nobly, and he was a good man and a gentleman all the way through the process. And like, she did express, her appreciation to him and everything, but she's all the way to the end of the book, she's insisting that she's a strong woman. Okay, you're a strong woman, whatever, but sometimes even strong women need help. It's okay to need help from a man. There's nothing wrong with it. So that's all I needed to say about that. And so I'm going to be starting the Ladies' Guide to Marvels and Misadventures. I'm reading that with Charlene this week. And then also keeping going with the other things I have going. Count of Monte Cristo, Pride and Prejudice, and the Life and Diary of David Brainerd. So got all of that stuff going, and I'll film another update later on this week with more thoughts about those things when I've made a little more progress in them. And I will see you next time. Hello, it's Thursday evening, and I am here at the flag football field waiting for my boys' game to start. That's going to be about half an hour now. So what else is there for a girl to do in such situations but read? Am I right? So I read some more in The Count of Monte Cristo, and I am a little over a third of the way through the book now, and still enjoying it. I mean, as you can imagine, in a book this size, so many characters that you meet, it's honestly a little bit tricky to keep track of them. In fact, there was one character that I had been introduced to before, but then he showed up again like 15 chapters later, and I was like, okay, I remember that name, but who was that dude again? And it took me a little bit to figure it out, but then I figured it out, and I was like, oh yeah, it was that guy. Interesting things happening. The Count of Monte Cristo, it's kind of interesting because for the first, I don't know how many chapters, let's just randomly say 15 chapters, but it might be more than that, 20 chapters. We see kind of from his perspective, like we're tracking Edmond Dantes. And so we are, aware of what he's doing, aware of what he's going through, aware of what he's thinking a lot of times and feeling. But then the story begins to be told by other perspectives. So most recently, we had the perspective of Franz Depinay, I guess I think that was his name. Franz, anyway. We had his perspective and his dealings with the Count of Monte Cristo. So we see the Count of Monte Cristo through his eyes. And now I'm seeing Count of Monte Cristo through the eyes of his friend, Albert. So it's very interesting. Like, you're getting like this 360 view sort of, but at the same time, it's incomplete because now in this section where you're getting the perspective from other people, because it's not so up close and intimate, it's a more mysterious kind of view, and you really don't know what's going on with this guy. So And you have all of this speculation and wondering, and you get these little hints here and these little hints there, but you're not really sure. It's all very mysterious. So we shall see what happens as we continue with this story. It's very interesting. Let's see. I am 3 chapters, or parts as they're called, through. I have finished 3 chapters in this book, The Life and Diary of David Brainerd, which I realized, by the way. So I was thinking that it didn't fit any of my scavenger hunt items for April, because the first one was a famous person, the other one was war, and the other one was work of art. Well, I don't have war or work of art. I haven't come across that yet. But I got to thinking that actually this was edited, and the notes and reflections and editorial commentary is from Jonathan Edwards. And Jonathan Edwards was famous in that he was, one of the prominent pastors during was it the First Great Awakening? Yeah, the First Great Awakening here in the States. And he knew David Brainerd personally, I believe. And he doesn't mention that, at least so far in the story, but he preached at Yale College, which is one of the things that, he did, or George Whitefield did? I forget. Anyway, I believe George Whitefield was also mentioned in here. Anyway, so there are famous people mentioned in this, people who have prominence historically. So even if David Brainerd himself is only well known in certain circles, certainly he's well known in Christian circles. Like on the back it says, his biography has become a source of inspiration and encouragement to many Christians, including missionaries such as William Carey and Jim Elliot, and Brainerd's cousin, James Brainerd Taylor, who was a Second Great Awakening evangelist. I read an article about by John Piper, who was heavily influenced by David Brainerd. E.M. Bounds, who wrote the book The Power Through Prayer, that I read recently with several other ladies, was heavily influenced by David Brainerd. The Testimony of His Life, John Wesley. So even if he isn't a household name, he was incredibly influential to many people who are household names in the larger world, whose names are familiar, like historically and prominently, names who have historic prominence and importance, or who are, Christian leaders of our day and age. So anyway, so I think that counts for that. One thing that I learned in the first couple chapters of this book is that he was expelled. David Brainerd was expelled from Yale, and it was on the thinnest of charges, like he said something that was kind of rude. Well, I don't know about rude. It was judgmental and critical of one of the deans, I think, of Yale. And that combined with something else that apparently was like false testimony. Like I think David Brainerd admitted to making that statement, but there were other things that were said about him that he would not admit were true. And there wasn't, like strong evidence, but still they expelled him. And then that complicated his life, but the Lord used it, because apparently around the same time there was a law passed. Now, I don't know if it was confined to the colony of Connecticut at the time or where the law was made. But the law was made that in order to preach, I'm not sure if it was in order to preach in general or to be a pastor. I think it meant to be a pastor. In order to be installed as a pastor in a church, I'm assuming an Anglican church at the time, that the person had to have a license or degree or whatever from Yale, Harvard, or a European institution. And so because he was expelled from Yale and he appealed and that didn't go through, he was then not able to be licensed to pastor a church. So that's how he ended up becoming a missionary to the Native Americans at the time. So, and then I happen to know, I haven't got that far in the book, but I happen to know that there was, God used his preaching to start a revival among the Native American communities, so at least one of the tribes there, and many of them converted to Christianity. So, God worked all that out for good in his life. So, that is going along. And then I am reading Pride and Prejudice. I read 6 chapters so far, And I just, I'm just enjoying, like, the funny bits of this. Mrs. Bennet is really cracking me up this time around. I don't know why. Like, I love the first chapter, the dialogue between her and Mr. Bennet. Like, that is comedic gold right there. It's the best opening chapter. I love it. And then later on, it's talking about Charlotte Lucas, and I guess some of her siblings came to visit the Bennets and to talk all about the assembly, where they were introduced to Mr. Darcy, etc. And so they're all talking it over and whatever. And so Charlotte's little brother says, "If I were as rich as Mr. Darcy, I should not care how proud I was. I would keep a pack of foxhounds and drink a bottle of wine every day." And then Mrs. Bennet says, "Then you would drink a great deal more than you ought, and if I were to see you at it, I should take away your bottle directly." The boy protested that she should not. She continued to declare that she would, and the argument ended only with the visit. And it just cracks me up to think of this grown woman with grown daughters arguing with a little boy. "You would not." "Yes, I would." "You would not." "Yes, I would." "You would not." "Yes, I would." Like toddlers. It cracks me up. Mrs. Bennet is hysterical. I haven't gotten too far into the story, but already really enjoying the annotations, so there's that. And I have also begun The Lady's Guide to Marvels and Misadventures by Angela Bell and enjoying it. And I have to say, Charlotte and I agree that the first sentence in that book is like a banger of a first sentence. Let me see. It's probably not the proper usage of that word in modern vernacular, but whatever. It says, "For Miss Clara Marie Stanton, the task of preventing her family from being committed to an asylum had become as commonplace as it was exhausting." And that's what jumps you right into the story. And pretty humorous jump into the story as well. So this story it's quirky, but it's not so quirky that it irritates. Like, I read, what's it? The Julia Seals, A Most Agreeable Murder or something like that. That one, that was just too quirky and too zany for me. I could not with that one. But this one is not so quirky that I can't, that I want to stop reading it. So we've got a little bit of Nutcracker going on here. Got a little bit of Dr. Dolittle, it feels like. Got a little bit of, in Mary Poppins, the movie version at least. I don't know about the book version. I don't know that she's portrayed this way in the book version. But in the movie version of Mary Poppins, the children's mother, what is her name? I forget. But our main character, Clara, her mother reminds me of the mother in Mary Poppins from the movie. And how she's like an activist. Now she's like a women's rights activist, like a suffragette in the movie. In this book, the mother is more of an animal rights activist, actually. She's kind of the Dr. Dolittle character, and they have like a whole zoo at their house. So anyway, it's those kind of like zany, semi-fantastical creatures, or not creatures is not the right word, characters that are in this story. And so, it's a little bit offbeat. It's a little bit quirky. It's a little bit zany. But it's fun, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm only a few chapters in. I need to catch up because Charlene is a little bit ahead of me, but it's fun, and I'm enjoying it. So, good story. All right, that is my update. I am very happy. This is the flag football tournament for the high school, and if they win today's game, I think they play tomorrow also. And then that's the end of high school flag football, and then we have middle school flag football, and that will be the end of sports until the fall. And I am just rejoicing about that, just rejoicing. And what's even better is when come fall, both our boys will be on the high school team. So it's only one team. Praise God. So I am pretty happy about that. Looking to these past 2 years with the boys on 2 different teams has been crazy. So I'm looking forward to slowing down on the sports life a little bit. All right, so to sum up, I don't have too much more to say. I am a little bit further into The Lady's Guide to Marvels and Misadventures, which Charlene and I are reading together. And it's fun. It's quirky and it's fun. There's like these steampunk elements in it that I've never read anything with steampunk in it. So it's not too much. It's just enough to make the book have just a sort of fantastical, almost magical feel, but not quite. and just adds a little bit of charm to it without being ridiculously zany. The girl's mom is irritating me, but by her irrational behavior at times. But I mean, I think she's supposed to be, because our main character is also frequently irritated by her as well. And I am keeping pace with David Brainerd and enjoying that. I do find it a little bit repetitive. So that is one comment that I have on that. And I am steadily reading Count of Monte Cristo and Pride and Prejudice, not quite so steadily. So that's what I am currently reading, 4 books. And also we are going on vacation, as I said, this week, hopefully, Lord willing. And I left my Kindle at work. Yeah, that was dumb. So I usually try to bring my Kindle on vacation so I can read, like have more books with me. So I'm going to be bringing the 4 books I'm already reading. Some of them are quite chunky. And I'm going to have to bring another book once I finish, because I'm probably will finish Lady's Guide to Adventure, Marvels and Misadventures. I cannot get that title right. So I'm going to want to bring another book at least. So yeah, I'm going to have a heavy bag there with me of my books and entertainment. So that's nice. Anyway, so those are my plans for this week. I do have a video scheduled to go live, hopefully, this Wednesday. After that, I'm not sure. I'm going to try to film at least a little bit this week. I won't have like a New York City vlog ready anytime soon. As far as a reading vlog, I'm hoping to film a couple short clips throughout the week so I can have another one next week. Just a short one probably. And then the week after that, I have filmed the video, so hopefully it will get up. But my vacation may disrupt things if we do indeed go on it, which I really hope we do, because I really want to. If we don't go on vacation, then I'll have plenty of time to do all the things. So that is all for now, and I will see you next time. Bye.